The probability suggests that the low for Bitcoin is not in, but there is still a chance that we can move higher. In today's video, I want to discuss this, going over the most recent Bitcoin price action, because we got a lot of data that came out in recent days. I've been covering it on the live streams, but inflation came in way higher than expected. And right now, the market is effectively chopping around. The crypto market, that is, because the stock market continues to make all-time highs. I'm recording this video right at the stock market open, and you can see that we just had another gap to the upside. Right now, Bitcoin is currently hovering just below $80,000. A lot of people are frustrated that crypto is underperforming the S&P 500 and, of course, tech stocks. You can see that the NASDAQ just continues to make all-time high after all-time high after all-time high. But this isn't different from previous crypto bear markets. We've seen it time and time again where the stock market can make new all-time highs in midterm years and crypto continues to struggle. We've talked about this on the channel at length, and at this point in time, Bitcoin is still holding bullish market structure. We don't want to ignore that. However, I think that there can still be a more significant low over the course of this year. So, more locally, if we take a look at the Bitcoin price action, you can see that we tapped into a very important level, and that level is actually right around $79,400. We're currently right above that level, and so long as we can hold above that level, the market structure is still intact. In fact, so long as Bitcoin can actually hold above $76,000, it would suggest that we can have another move to the upside. Now, if you've been following me for a while, I've already pre-entered some Bitcoin shorts. I've also started shorting Zcash, which you can see I'm currently up around $24,000 on this trade. The market structure for Zcash was starting to look quite bearish. This isn't your call to just start shorting it now, of course, but we entered this trade within my community, and if you want access to all of my own personal trades in this market, when I go long, when I go short, you do have the first link in my description down below. If you DM me the keyword CBM on Telegram, you'll be able to join my group completely for free. The only requirement is that you've signed up with one of the affiliate exchange links down below, and you start trading on there as you'd normally do. For me, Bluffin is my go-to exchange, and you can see right now that this Zcash short is performing extremely well. And I just want to take you through the Bitcoin price action because naturally, if Bitcoin decides to dump, the rest of the crypto market will dump. Let's talk more locally here about the bullish structure. The bullish structure would be that we've tapped into this bull market support band and Bitcoin is ready to get another move to the upside, sweeping out some upside liquidity because there is some before likely moving lower. Now, this is, of course, my opinion. Some of you guys are saying it's an institutional cycle and we should be extremely bullish here, buy the dip. However, I don't think that this should be the case. We have Michael Saylor buying a crap ton of Bitcoin, and it looks like he's single-handedly holding up the crypto market. The reality is stocks are greatly outperforming crypto, so why would investors put their money in the riskiest of markets? I do think that crypto will have its time to shine, and more locally, so long as we can hold on above this pivot, it makes me think that we can grab some upside liquidity. So the key levels that you want to pay attention to are $79,400 because this was the pivot where Bitcoin effectively got rejected and it brought it down to below $75,000. So if we start losing this level on 4-hour candle closing basis, it would suggest that Bitcoin can already roll over, perhaps deeper into its bull market support band. Now, in previous bear markets, we've seen Bitcoin rally all the way up to just below that 200-day moving average, which is this blue line on the chart, come down to the bull market support band and then have a more significant bounce to the upside. Sometimes it creates a higher high, sometimes it creates a lower high. However, in all scenarios, Bitcoin did go ahead and move lower after the fact. Maybe this time is different, but from a probabilistic perspective, even if Bitcoin is to rally a little bit higher here, I still firmly believe that we can be moving lower over the course of this year. So, let's see how the price action develops. In terms of liquidity, because you guys know I really like to look at these heat maps, we do have some liquidity built up to the upside. And this is a common theme on the lower time frames, as there's a bunch of skeptics in the market, including myself, trying to short Bitcoin. Now, if we zoom out a little bit more, the thing that we must consider is on the 2-week time frame and above, there is way more liquidity to the downside than there is to the upside, meaning people have started betting that the market will move exceptionally higher at this point in time, with lots of liquidity from here down to around $76,000. And the more we zoom out, the more clear of a picture it creates. You can see here that on the 30-day time frame, there's approximately 2 times more cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market. On the 90-day time frame, it paints the exact same picture, which is effectively that there is more cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market at around 15 billion if Bitcoin were to go down to $70,000 compared to around 5.5 billion if Bitcoin were to go all the way up to $91,000. So this is basically a 3x discrepancy. Now, in bear markets, there can be continued liquidity built to the upside without tapping into it. Just like in bull markets, there can be continued liquidity getting built up to the downside without necessarily tapping into it, and price can move higher. So at this point in time, so long as there's more cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market, this is ultimately positive in terms of the price action going down, because as you know, I've been shorting this market. So at this point in time, Bitcoin sits just below $80,000. And if we took that anchored VWAP from the recent pivot low at around 75K, you can see that it's acting as resistance. So usually in an uptrend, what happens is when we tap into these anchored VWAPs, we tend to hold them as support. But ever since making it just below that 200-day moving average, we drop below it, and now it continues to act as resistance. So the bulls really want to flip this level. Don't get me wrong, if we come back down to the bull market support band, to the lower ends of this bull market support band, which is found between $76,200 all the way up to where price effectively bounced thus far, we can get another bounce targeting some of that upside liquidity. But the higher time frame analysis for me remains exactly the same. So let's zoom out here, take a look at what the top levels of this chart are, because we've been talking about this at length. A lot of traders were paying attention to the 200-day moving average for Bitcoin. Everyone was saying, okay, this is how far the rally is going to go, and maybe I will go ahead and short from this level. But there's also the anchored VWAP from all-time high, which is found just below $85,000, and this top yellow line, which is the point of control of the tariff capitulation low range, where Bitcoin had a massive move after consolidating there for a little bit of time. So it's a huge confluence zone, but we've talked about this on the live stream. Sometimes when there's a massive confluence zone like this one, and everyone is eyeing it for a potential short, we don't hit the level. So let's see how the price action develops. To be honest, at this point in time, it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't hit this confluence zone, but if we did, it would be a no-brainer short from my perspective. I'll also be doing a live stream today, so if that sounds interesting, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell, because we'll be looking for some shorter term trading opportunities outside of my existing swing shorts. But remember, if you want to see my bigger trades in this market, how I manage my own crypto trading portfolio in a bull market, in a bear market, which we are in, you do have that first link in the description down below. Right now, I'm pretty content with this Zcash position, and I do think that we can move to the downside, especially if Bitcoin continues to experience weakness. So we have a lot of the market currently trying to price in that Clarity Act, but I think that this is largely priced in with this most recent rally that we've been getting. Tons of liquidity to the downside. Is there some built up liquidity to the upside? Yes, but we don't necessarily have to tap into it. Remember that nothing that I discuss on the channel should be construed as financial advice. I'm just a guy on the internet sharing all of his own personal trades and his overall market analysis. The next thing I wanted to bring to your attention is how Bitcoin typically performs in midterm years. Within one standard deviation away, we're currently sitting well above the average. So you can see that typically we're much, much lower, and 2026 is up here getting a little bit overextended. That on top of the fact that the drawdown from all-time high was approximately 50%, which would be the lowest drawdown in history for Bitcoin. Now, I do agree with the law of diminishing returns and diminishing drawdowns, and that would suggest that the highs are far less significant from the bear market lows percentage-wise, but also the lows should be less significant too. Now, over the course of Bitcoin's history, you can see the lows that we typically get, and last cycle, we dropped approximately 77% from the all-time high. I don't think that 50% was enough to make my point extremely clear. I actually think that we're probably going to drop somewhere between 60 to 65% from all-time highs. But if Bitcoin is to drop below $60,000, at that point in time, I would start slowly dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, I have to make it abundantly clear that I do hold Bitcoin. I am a long-term Bitcoin bull, but I do also believe in the 4-year cycle. It's been playing out time and time again. And if we zoom out here and we take a look at, for example, the 2022 price action, you'll notice that Bitcoin basically entered this kind of price action where we had a very significant pump. And I'll remind you, it was approximately a 40% pump, or sorry, I should say 46% pump before hitting that 200-day moving average and then rejecting massively. I also pointed this out on the live stream, and guys, this would be absolutely crazy if this is how the price action develops. But May 6th tends to be a very significant time frame for Bitcoin, particularly in bear markets. Now, obviously, this supports my bear market thesis, but if we zoom out here, Friday, May 6th, back in the previous bear market, Bitcoin started dropping massively, and that was effectively the local top before we dropped. Then you go to 2018 and take a look at that. Almost to the exact day, May 6th, Bitcoin formed that local top, and then we started moving lower over the course of the year. Now, if we take a look at today's price action, what happened on May 6th? Well, that was when Bitcoin spiked all the way up to $82,800. And so far, at least, it is the local top. You can see here, this wick brought us all the way up to that level. And if this is to play out, it would have to mean that we live in a simulation. Absolutely crazy stuff. Right now, though, Bitcoin is trying to hold on to support. So I'm not going to say that we're just going to immediately roll over from here. I'm open to how the price action develops. I'm in a couple of shorts, and I am also ready to enter some new trades in this market. So let's see what happens here. There is still some escalations in terms of Iran and the US, and there should still be some disruption in the Strait of Hormuz. So let's see how that develops. Plus, the stock market just continues to make all-time highs. Guys, just because the stock market continues to pump, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin has to continue to pump. I see a lot of people make this mistake, particularly in bear markets, the catch-up trade. But in my opinion, I don't think that there will be a catch-up trade. We've seen that as soon as the stock market has even the slightest of rejection, Bitcoin experiences even more drawdown. Meanwhile, when the stock market pumps, Bitcoin struggles to move higher. So until further notice, I think that it's going to continue to play out like this because crypto is the riskiest of assets. That being said, there will be great opportunities over the course of this year, and I am extremely optimistic about the future of Bitcoin. I will be loading up, and I'll let you know as soon as I decide to load up. At this point in time, I would say that the market is relatively split. There's 50% of us that think that the 4-year cycle will play out. Then we have the other 50% that believe that this time is different. But usually over the course of the bear market, we're going to get to a point where everyone is going to want to really give up on crypto, the bulls included. That would be the time where you buy crypto. Not financial advice, of course, but I'm just telling you what I think could be happening next in this market. We have other big YouTubers as well saying things like Bitcoin fell 2% and is now back under $80,000. The 4-year cycle must be real. This guy has been absolutely trolling. However, there's a lot of bullish crypto influencers that have been bullish since $126,000. So keep that in mind as well, spreading that kind of hopium, telling you that Bitcoin is just going to continue to skyrocket. Now, to be perfectly clear, if I am proven wrong, I am okay simply because I do hold some spot Bitcoin. I've talked about this on the channel before. I want to accumulate Bitcoin in deep value zones, and I've already done so in the previous bear markets. So that's how I manage my overall crypto exposure. I am never fully out of the market, even though I do think that we will be seeing lower prices to come over the course of this year, even if Bitcoin is to grab some more upside liquidity before potentially rolling over. And that sums up today's quick video. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Make sure to tune into my live stream later. And of course, if you want to see how I am personally trading the market, you know where to find me. First link in the description down below. I'll see you in the next video.